There's no doubt that fear and vigilance can be helpful if you're faced with an actual threat, but an unnecessarily high state of worry and arousal when there's nothing threatening you can be a nightmare. But it doesn't have to be that way. If you've chronic anxiety, there's always ways to manage and reverse it. Psychobiotics may be one way to do that. You can check out my other videos on nutrient deficiencies causing anxiety and other natural treatment options on my website. Psychobiotics are prebiotics and probiotics, and they can improve your mental health by changing the mixture of bacteria in your gut. It's estimated 100 trillion bacteria and 500 to 1,000 species of bacteria live in the human gut. These gut bacteria collectively are known as the microbiome, and they help with digestion. But an increasing amount of research suggests they might also communicate with your brain through the microbiome gut-brain axis, affecting your thoughts, feelings, and behaviour. A dysfunctional gut microbiome has been linked to a number of mental health problems and psychiatric conditions, including anxiety. In fact, anxiety and the gut health are very tightly linked. Research shows people who have digestive disorders are more likely to have anxiety, and those with anxiety have higher rates of gastrointestinal disease. Studies show when digestive disorders improve, anxiety also improves. Unfortunately, a lot of people have poor gut health today because of the widespread use of antibiotics, medications, herbicides, stress, infections, and poor diet. But don't worry, you can improve your gut health and anxiety at the same time with the use of herbs, supplements, and psychobiotics. Studies show psychobiotics can improve anxiety by stimulating the vagus nerve, producing neurotransmitters like GABA and serotonin, reducing stress hormone levels, reducing inflammation, which is one of the major underlying causes of mental illness, increasing BDNF or brain-derived neurotrophic factor levels, crowding out the pathogenic bacteria, and increasing nutrient production and absorption. Lactobacillus rhamnosus is a bacterium found in the human gut. It's one of the most popular probiotic species found in supplements. Preliminary research suggests supplementing with the Lactobacillus rhamnosus can lower anxiety in humans. GABA is the main inhibitory and relaxing neurotransmitter in the central nervous system, and studies suggest the Lactobacillus rhamnosus might reduce anxiety by changing the expression of GABA receptors. In one study, researchers gave the Lactobacillus rhamnosus to mice, and it reduced their anxiety-like behaviours. But when researchers removed part of their vagus nerve, the Lactobacillus rhamnosus did not reduce their anxiety. This suggests the psychobiotics communicate with the brain and improve mental health through the vagus nerve. Other studies have found the Lactobacillus rhamnosus decreases stress-induced anxiety-like behaviour, and researchers have concluded it can protect against anxiety. It's also been shown to reduce obsessive-compulsive disorder, or OCD-like behaviour in mice. In fact, researchers have found it was just as effective as fluoxetine, an SSRI antidepressant commonly used to treat OCD. If you struggle with OCD or obsessive-compulsive tendencies, it might be worth trying this psychobiotic. The Lactobacillus rhamnosus can be found in some yogurt and dairy products, like fermented and unpasteurized milk and semi-hard cheese, or as a supplement. Bifidobacterium longum is another bacterium present in the human gut. It's often added to food as it can help to prevent the growth of pathogenic organisms. It's been proven to help to treat depression, and it can also reduce anxiety. Researchers have concluded that Bifidobacterium longum can reduce cortisol stress hormone and can alleviate psychological distress in humans, including obsessions, compulsions, paranoia, and anxiety. Lots of animal research also shows that Bifidobacterium longum can significantly reduce anxiety-like behaviour. One study found a chronic infection in mice increased inflammation and it caused anxiety-like behaviour, but the Bifidobacterium longum reduced the anxiety and normalized the behaviour. Researchers have even figured out that it works by acting through the vagus nerve. Lactobacillus plantarum is another probiotic species that can reduce anxiety. In one study, the researchers gave the Lactobacillus plantarum to patients with irritable bowel syndrome, and it significantly reduced their anxiety and improved their quality of life. Animal studies also show Lactobacillus plantarum can cause positive changes in emotional behaviour and significantly reduce anxiety-like behaviour. It does this by increasing dopamine and serotonin, lowering stress hormone levels and reducing inflammation. As a result, researchers have concluded that the Lactobacillus plantarum has psychotropic properties without physical side effects, and it has a great potential for treating neuropsychiatric disorders, including anxiety. The Lactobacillus plantarum is also commonly found in many fermented vegetables, including sauerkraut, pickles, brined olives, and kimchi. Lactobacillus helveticus is a probiotic strain that's been shown to reduce cortisol and to have anti-anxiety effects in humans. One study found it can even reduce paranoid and obsessive compulsive thoughts. Animal research shows a Western-style diet can negatively change the gut microbiome, increase brain inflammation, and contribute to anxiety. But the Lactobacillus helveticus can protect us against this, reducing both the neuroinflammation and the anxiety. One study even found the Lactobacillus helveticus works better than citalopram, a common SSRI antidepressant, at reducing anxiety-like behaviour in rats. It also reduced their stress hormone levels and increased their serotonin levels. The Lactobacillus helveticus is also commonly found in American Swiss cheese and Emmental cheese, and sometimes in other cheeses like cheddar, parmesan, romano, provolone, and mozzarella. If you're sensitive to dairy, consider using a supplement. Lactobacillus reuteri is a bacterium with anti-inflammatory effects that scientists first discovered in the 80s. It's usually found in the human gut, however, not all humans have it, and some people simply have low levels of it. Therefore, you might need to supplement with it to introduce and to maintain the high levels. Research shows the Lactobacillus reuteri can reduce anxiety-like behaviours in animals by reducing stress hormone and by altering the expression of the GABA receptors. One study found the absence of Lactobacillus reuteri causes social deficits in animals. We found the treatment with single bacteria strain was able to reduce their social behaviour, said Shelley Buffington, neuroscience researcher at Baylor College of Medicine. By adding it back into the guts of animals, the researchers were able to reverse some of their behavioural deficits, which were similar to the symptoms of social anxiety and autism in humans. Therefore, Lactobacillus reuteri is definitely the psychobiotic strain worth trying if you struggle with social anxiety or symptoms of autism. Lactobacillus casei is another bacteria found in the human gut. It has antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects. In one double-blind, placebo-controlled trial, patients with chronic fatigue syndrome and digestive problems took the Lactobacillus casei as a daily supplement for 2 months. At the end of the study, they had a significant decrease in their anxiety symptoms. So this is a good psychobiotic to try if you struggle with a mixture of fatigue, digestive problems, and anxiety. The Lactobacillus casei is the dominant species in naturally fermented Sicilian green olives, and it can also be found in other fermented vegetables and dairy products. Lactobacillus fermentum is another species that's part of the human microbiome and commonly found in fermented vegetables. It hasn't been studied as much as the other Lactobacillus probiotic species, but there's still some evidence that it might be able to help to treat anxiety, especially if you have a long history of antibiotic treatment. Research shows antibiotics can trigger anxiety in animals by disturbing the microbiome. But by giving animals Lactobacillus fermentum, the researchers can reduce the inflammation and reverse the psychological problems brought on by the antibiotics, including anxiety-like behaviour. So if you've taken lots of antibiotics over the years, or notice that your anxiety gets worse after taking a course of antibiotics, taking the psychobiotic supplements with Lactobacillus fermentum is worth a try. Bifidobacterium breve is a beneficial bacterium found in human breast milk and the human gut. The amount of it in your gut declines as you get older. Research has shown Bifidobacterium breve can reduce anxiety-like behaviour in animals. Anxious animals also perform better on cognitive tests after being given it. This makes the Bifidobacterium breve a great psychobiotic option if your anxiety impairs your cognition and interferes with your ability to complete tasks. The Bifidobacterium breve can be found naturally in some fermented foods. Not all psychobiotics are simply probiotics. Psychobiotics can also include prebiotics. These are non-digestible soluble fibres, and they stimulate the growth of good bacteria and therefore improve mental health and reduce anxiety. Galacto-oligosaccharides, or GOS, are a type of prebiotic, and they've been shown to do just that. In one study, the galacto-oligosaccharides significantly decreased the secretion of cortisol, and the participants paid more attention to positive information rather than negative information. People who are anxious tend to have high levels of cortisol, and they often get caught up in negative thinking. So the study suggests the galacto-oligosaccharides have anti-anxiety effects. Other research has demonstrated people with irritable bowel syndrome often have anxiety because of the lack of microbial diversity in their gut. However, when the IBS sufferers supplement with a prebiotic mixture that contains the galacto-oligosaccharides, it significantly reduced their anxiety and improved the quality of their life. Like with any supplement, ideally you should try one probiotic strain at a time to figure out how you respond to each one. However, clinical studies often demonstrate that probiotic mixtures with multiple strains are better at improving the diversity of the gut bacteria than single strains. It's also recommended adding fermented foods into your diet. Fermented foods contain many strains of bacteria that have not been documented in the scientific literature yet. The microbiome and psychobiotics are at the cutting edge of neuroscience and mental health research and treatment. It hasn't been that long since researchers first discovered there's a gut-brain connection. It's important to point out that psychobiotics alone are never enough. You have to make changes to your diet, take key supplements, improve thyroid health, and overcome trauma. There's no quick fix or magic bullet. But for some people, the psychobiotics can be life-changing, especially if you have digestive issues along with your anxiety and worries. A traditional herbal formula that contains the 3 L's, lavender, lactuca, which is the wild lettuce, and lovage, helps to improve digestion, treat the gut, and to remove nervous butterflies, so you might want to try adding this also. To book a consultation or to learn about herbs, supplements, and natural treatments, check out my website.